Hello,
Hey Lena,
how is it going?
amazing. It's been a busy day for me. How are you doing?
Great, excited to join such a interesting topic. So it's very hot, obviously. Thank you so much, by the way, for making it online because I mean, in general, I don't live in New York anymore, and it was a
Mm,
great opportunity. I know you were doing a lot of local events.
yeah, so you
So
used to live in New York and now you're,
in Miami,
oh,
hey.
smart, smart.
Yes, it's like, oh my
Warmer.
God. Yeah, yeah, I was like, I hope he's gonna make an online event and I can join finally because like it's obviously. Hi,
Yeah,
Lisa.
Lisa is also not in New York.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So
Hi.
I follow the market. Like people have been asking for like more online stuff, so I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Right.
So we'll give people a couple more minutes. We're expecting what is it, like two more people? So yeah, hopefully they'll join in a couple of minutes. If not, then we'll just get started. Anyways, there's another Lisa and Farah. So Elena, did you hear about this because you were part of this while you were in New York, or?
No, I like follow tech events on Meetup in general.
Ah,
There are a lot of them here, but I was looking for AI in UX specifically because and it was interesting because again, as I said, you were doing like a few local events related to this topic, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like when you're gonna make one online. So thank you so much for doing it.
thank you, thank you. Yeah. Um, it's been such an interesting, I guess, couple months. Not even not even a year, like couple of months, how like things move so fast. It's crazy. While waiting for people, we're gonna use Claude. So if you guys don't have Claude, would be good is to get that started. So Claude.ai and also Lovable.dev. Those are the two things that we're going to use. And I think Perplexity is free. So you don't, I don't think you need to sign up, but like just in case, we may use Perplexity also. Perplexity.ai. I'm gonna drop that in the chat as well.
Yeah, give me a second.
And then like I think, do we have to, can you guys see the Q&A thing or no? Is there a Q&A?
What is it? Sorry.
No, like
Zoom
down in the bottom in the you mean
Zoom
in Zoom?
meeting thing.
No, I only see a chat.
Let's just use the chat then. If you got questions as we go through this, feel free to drop it in the chat. And then if I, for some reason, missed it, just feel free to, hey, can you answer my question?
I see. Yeah, I don't see anything
Yeah, I
in the
think
chat.
it's not there. I may have to like adjust it, like the apps or something, because they keep adding more and more stuff. Okay, once you guys are done creating accounts for those three things, put one in the chat so I know that you're ready to move on, and we'll get started. People join us, people join us. I love how your cat Lisa is just like, yeah. I'll just like nonchalantly show my butt.
Yep. He gets jealous when I'm talking to the screen and not him.
Yeah, it's like, how about me? But I'm not gonna give you attention. I'm just gonna pretend I don't care. Yep, thanks, Elena, for sharing that. I'll share my LinkedIn too.
You just needed us to make like accounts so far,
Yeah,
right?
so you can access it. That's it. So that when we get to it,
To all of them. Okay, I see.
yeah. Because I think every single one would require you to log in with Google or something. You know how that is.
Yep.
If you don't want them to have your info, it might be worthwhile to create a throwaway Google account for playing around with these different tools. Just saying. Are we ready to move on? Yes? Cool. Okay. So next, just in the chat, real quickly, just write on as many as you can think of. How have you used AI for? The different AI. Sorry, this is like the different AI tools and what do you use it for? Like for example, ChatGPT drafting emails as much as you can. Just brain dump. UI documentation for design system, write emails. Okay. Summarizing the end session. Oh yeah. Anything else? Yep. Okay. Summarizing complicated programs. So have the context about tools while doing search. Okay. Mm-hmm. Brainstorm new product ideas. Okay. Meal prep planning, taking my day. Okay, that's pretty
That's cool.
useful.
That's cool.
I have expertise in already. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're done, just put one again so I know. Then we'll talk about this a little bit. Solving word problems. Nice. Formatting content quickly. Yep. into the table.
Basically for everything, to be honest. It became like a daily daily need.
It's a
Personal
personal assistant, right?
personal assistant. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so okay. ChatGPT explain our transit system. Key card. Is a key card to me? Like, yeah, what's the gonna be good? Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Okay, let's talk about this. We got a lot of things. It's interesting, Elena, you mentioned that it's becoming like a personal assistant
Yeah.
that enables us to do more and like what Lisa says, simplifying things even, right? Like explaining things to us so that we could reduce the cognitive load for ourselves. Then we can make decision faster, more informed, more empowered. So with that, that's a really good start to know where you guys are at. Seems like a lot of it is LLM, like ChatGPT mostly, is it? Both
Yes.
of you? Okay. And
Yeah,
Perplexity, is it?
no, like I'm very
No?
happy that I did this three other options because I heard only about cloud
Claude, okay.
and the rest I'm not familiar with. So
Mhm. Okay. And Lisa, you've been using ChatGPT mostly?
Mostly ChatGPT, and also for work, the only LLM we're allowed to use is Copilot. So I use Copilot for like essentially the same thing. Um,
Mhm.
and I've experimented a little with Leonardo AI, but
Yep,
like I
the
myself
image
am an
creation.
yeah, but I myself am an illustrator, so I kind of try to stay away from that, honestly.
It would be interesting for you to find. I know that like, I had that reservation as well against like these like Midjourney and all these things because I paint. But then it's actually interesting once I embrace it as a way to brainstorm with like composition. It became interesting,
Good one. Oh, that's really good.
right?
Yeah.
And then also, for example, if you're creating something with character, to create the background, to experiment with
Yeah, and well,
backgrounds.
and I was actually the context I was using Leonardo in was we were working on like a concept of like a service design deliverable called a storyboard, which was basically literally a storyboard.
Storyboard, yeah.
We storyboarded out the concept and like just even though I knew I could draw the stuff really quickly, we wanted it to be reproducible, so I tried to do it with Leonardo and prompt engineering so like other people could make images. So that's kind of the only experience I've had with Leonardo. And then I like, took those out of Leonardo and put them in Procreate and like actually like kind of like made them make sense. So yeah, that was an interesting like experimental project for work.
Cool, cool. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go straight. Let's do a quick intro like we do. Your name and then your journey so far, and then we'll get started with like some theory and rest of this. Elena, you
well,
want to get started?
yeah, sure. Um, I'm a product designer with a extended background in visual design. I spent like probably more than 10 years like working as a brand designer. And
Mm,
at some moment during the pandemic, I was like, I mean, there were a lot of people fired from their position, lost their jobs. And before that, I was already considering like finding a change because I was like, look, I didn't feel satisfied about being. I don't want to say just a brand designer. I loved my job, and I still find it like a very inspiring and helpful. But I was looking for a different level of depth in my
mm, mm,
position. So, and I wanted to um I don't know. I wanted to find like a bigger impact that I can do with my job. And the UX was looking very mysterious, extremely challenging and complicated. And that's what I'm always looking for, like difficult things to solve because it makes me feel like I need it. Like somewhere important. So that's where I switched like the direction, and
mhm,
I got I attended to General Assembly, which was I heard very prestigious online school. That's where I got like my boot camp, and it was extremely challenging, I have to say. So, but here I am working
nice.
for. tech company, and I'm very, very happy about it. Thank you.
Great. So both of you came from very visual background.
Yes, 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 yes. So
Well, Lisa, quickly. I know who
Yeah,
you
sure.
are, but like for Elena's.
Yeah, for Elena's benefit.
Yeah.
Like you and like Danny, I came from a graphic design background, so I started as like a standard like brand graphic designer, design lead at a marketing agency, and then that became web design, which became UX. And like you, I really liked kind of like the problem solving and the puzzles in UX, and I like the why behind things. I like to know why things work, and I like to make sure that everything works, which is why now I'm in service design actually, which is like
Yeah.
I feel like UX, it's like UX for the whole business. I feel like it's just make the whole thing go. And yeah, so now I'm working in service design. And having a visual background in that is very beneficial, definitely. But like, it's not what I do isn't like graphic design anymore, which is good because I like puzzles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
more in the like I know that when I studied graphic design, it was called visual communication. I was like, what? I think it's more of that, right? It's
yeah,
more
yes.
communicating as opposed to making something pop.
I love
Yeah,
it.
like now my day to day is visually making very complicated things human readable, basically. Yeah.
So are you like a Tufte kind of fan then? Edward Tufte?
I literally have like four of his books right here. Hang on. I have
Yep, yep.
yeah, and I went to one of his talks and it blew
The
my mind.
visualization, like the Napoleon
Visual
thing.
display of quantitative information. I have beautiful evidence. Yeah, I've got literally his entire collection.
Yep, that's like the godfather of infographics and data visualization, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. I love his work.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Thank you both. So this is going to be like really focused on that. So I'm going to make sure that we're in that conversation with that context. So the workshop objectives here, you can see my screen still? Yes?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the main thing is to understand how AI can augment but not replace. We need to be in the driver's seat always, core for the core UX activities. And my hope is that you, by the end of this, you identify 3 or 4 practical applications you can start doing, maybe more even, and master the prompt engineering techniques specific to UX tasks. It sounds complicated, but it's not really. And develop critical evaluation skills for AI generated output. So when we use these AI tools, which one would actually yield the result that we should continue using versus something that we should just disregard, right? Because not everything, as you know from working with ChatGPT and whatnot, some of them are garbage. So this is just the agenda. We'll start with what we just did. Welcome icebreaker, AI and UX context, a little bit of theory, get into prompt engineering, critical evaluation integration, and we'll do a little break. And then we'll do some hands-on stuff with like mini design studio where you get to play around with those tools that we sign up for. Okay, and then we'll talk about it. Sounds good?
Cool.
So Elena, this is gonna be very general assembly feel because I used to teach there. So
Really cool.
Bonus General Assembly.
yeah, I owe it to them to actually learn how to teach really, really well, actually. I love it. So brief history of AI in design. Early automation. This is the basic automation to intelligent assistants. Kind of like how, I don't know if you guys use the Figma plugin to just populate the images, right? Populate some text. That's automation, right? It's not that smart, but it helps. That's automation. And then with generative AI, it could actually understand what to populate it with. For example, names of like with a little bit of thinking, like names of people in the US, right? Or in Mexico or whatever. And then the next thing that's coming up after this generative AI, where we're at right now, is integrating that into our processes, right? The tools and the agents and tools, we'll get into that a little bit more. Are you familiar with agents? You guys? AI agents? Okay. So the main difference is tools are like the things that we use, like do this and then it does it, come back and gives us something. Agent is like having an intern, right? You can go to lunch, you come back, it's done. That's the difference. So the agent actually is called agents because it has the agency to make decisions. Small level, like lower level decisions, but decision nevertheless. Okay, that's the difference. It's if it doesn't make sense now, it's going to at some point, I promise. Okay. So what is generative AI? Generative AI is essentially artificial intelligence system that can create, that can generate, that's why it's called generative, that could generate new things. For example, text, images, music, even code, other forms of data, whatever that we could feed it, it could create it. And it's like, we talk about this, like having a creative assistant that could produce original work, but it's based on pattern that it has learned. That's why you've heard machine learning, right? Because the machine was learning. So it's training it to learn the pattern so that it could create something that it believes that we want. It's a massive pattern recognition. The way it was explained to me that makes sense. It's like a massive autocomplete. If you use like Google, like you start typing 3 letters, it tries to suggest the next thing, figure out the next thing. This is that, but on a massive scale, using all kinds of media, all kinds of output. Make sense? The strength of it, obviously, we've experienced it, rapid generation of these things. They could create this really quickly, advanced pattern recognition. We could learn and enable like learning by examples. Versatile application, we can use it in different things. And then similar to the advanced pattern recognition, it could efficiently process vast information quantities. This is amazing for like research synthesis, for example. We'll talk about it a little bit more. And real-time adaptation to different tasks and contexts. It's very versatile, right? Like you use it to understand the transit system, use it for this, for that, right? That's the power of this thing. Essentially, it's like a Swiss knife, if you will. The weakness, though, it could potentially hallucinate, right? There was like this story of a lawyer using this to like make a case, and then the AI actually, I think it was ChatGPT, came up with a case that never happened. So like the argument was based on like a bogus case that the AI hallucinated on. So it lacks true understanding of and reasoning like capabilities. Like it's getting better with that, but essentially just slowing it down because it just like this is the way I think about this. It's like it's an overeager intern, really smart but overeager, and sometimes because it's overeager, it gives us something that's like it just lies essentially.
It never says I don't know, which I think is a
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
So again, like that's why I think like at least for me, seeing us as an overeager intern kind of helped me. Like, oh yeah, this person really want to impress me, right? Can perpetuate biases from training data, right? Sometimes the bias could be like for the training data or against it. Like for example, when Gemini just released, Google just released Gemini, the image generator, and then they wanted to like go against the training data, the biases, overcorrect it, right? So when people generated like, oh, give me the image of George Washington, it's like George Washington as with a dreadlock as an African American person. Like, no, this is historical figure. You don't make this diverse, right? So something like that. And it requires a lot of computational, which I'm sure you guys heard of. And then Lisa, you work for energy company, so you understand that, utility company. Limited consistency in long form content. This is something that is interesting because consistency is really hard for AI. So it always generates something new, always something new. It doesn't remember what it created before. Why is this important? Because as a designer, when we iterate, we need to build upon like the previous version. This is hard for this. So just so you know, this is the weakness and the limitation of this, which we'll see. We'll experience that. Now, what are large language models? You heard that before, I'm sure, like LLM. How is that different for generative AI? So large language model like ChatGPT or Claude, a specific type of generative AI that is focused on the text, the natural language, the human-like text, for processing it, to understand it, and also to like communicate it, which is becoming the user interface essentially to work with the other types of AI. Because that's how we understand the world, through language, and that's how we communicate. This thing becomes the interface between us and the other machine, if you will. Make sense? So this is like potentially a way to use that, right? Like in terms of, let's say you're using Leonardo, which is an AI image generator. The human prompt needs to be processed through LLM first before the machine that generates images, the AI that generates images, understand what to do. That's why we need that layer first. And then this could be like music generation, code generation, and all these things. Make sense? Okay. So what LLMs are good at: information processing and analysis, which we already discussed. Content idea generation, you already start using that. Process support, documentation, right? So those are the things that we already know. They're good at that because it's like so fast, understand patterns. So that's like what it's really good at. Weaknesses: direct creation and implementation. Like if you're trying to create something that goes to the market, to like the physical world directly, it's really bad at that because it doesn't understand how the real world works. And that's similarly to that, it doesn't know how to test in the real world context, real world observation and testing. It's very bad. So again, think about this like LLM is like the brain. It doesn't, to actually experience the real world, it needs the body and the senses. Now it's got like some of those with some, like for example, Claude has vision, right? And then it's gonna get also hearing and stuff like that. So that's like when the brain gets more senses. And complex contextual understanding, because it doesn't have the body, it doesn't have the senses, it doesn't understand the context. And the same thing with, and this is like the next level. I'm sure you guys have thought of this, heard this as designer. It doesn't understand empathy. It cannot build relationship with humans. This is a different like topic altogether that we can go deep in. Like, what does that mean? Because there was this interesting LinkedIn post by this lady who said that she read an article about a woman who fell in love with an AI, right? And then she was like rolling her eyes. And then she read another article the next day about AI being used as a school counselor, and she applauded that. And I'm like, and she was like, so why am I responding that way? So that's an interesting one, right? They both kind of use very similar techniques, if you will, and capabilities to empathize with the human and also to connect with the human. But one gave her that reaction, the other gave another reaction, the opposite reaction. And maybe that also is something that we react to, but we can talk about that more later. Now, working with LLM, these are the best practices. Be clear and specific, which we'll play around with the prompt engineering. Step-by-step reasoning, also we're going to use that. Context example, iterate, refine. Don't worry, this is just like the best practice in general, and we'll actually put this in practice in a minute. Know the limitations, like what we discussed just now. So understanding how it works helps us understand that, okay, it cannot actually see. It's like faking see. Or maybe it could see, but it doesn't see it the way we see it, right? Verify important outputs. Make sure that you always verify, especially when it's over eager to please you. Like, yeah, I found this. Like, really? Did you? Where? Right? Keep context focused. Make sure that you understand what the focus of, what is the context of the information is. Now we're going to get to prompt engineering. Any questions so far? Any comments? Good. Okay. This is like where the fun part starts. Prompt engineering is a practice of crafting, optimizing prompts to guide the AI models to produce what you want, the desired output, right? It's communication, essentially. It combines both art and science, requiring deep understanding, AI models, and creative problem solving. Essentially, yes, writing a good email to a robot. That's a good one, right? So this is, if you're really good at in like writing emails and instructions, you'll be really good at this. Now, here's some fancy terms. These people, as we know, people try to make things sound complicated. It's not that complicated. So with this, I'm going to also pull Claude inside so we can start practicing some of these. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. This is okay. Do this. Can I zoom in on this? No, it doesn't let me zoom. Anyways, just stop. I'm gonna talk about it. Zero shot simply is like a prompt without an example. Okay, so an example here is that analyze this usability test transcript and identify key pain points. The AI doesn't have an example of how do I analyze? What is this? So essentially, it needs to rely on its training data. So it's been trained on massive amount of data, so it needs to go back to them like, oh, I think what the user wants is this. So it's called zero shot because it's almost guaranteed that you won't get what you're asking for. That's what zero shot simply means, okay? And then there's like this few shot or multi-shot prompting, which means that you're giving it examples. Like in this case, here are some examples of user stories, right? Example 1 like this, example 2 like this, and then now generate 3 more of these. Okay, so what's missing from here is the context, but at least for user stories, the AI now knows, oh, this is what you're looking for. Make sense? So now, let's say that I want us to compare these two different, I'm guessing, gonna make this a bigger maybe, if I could. Okay. So this is a zero shot. Can you read okay, my Claude?
Yep.
Okay. Draft an intro text for me as a design leader. For example, I want to use this for my portfolio, right? So it's like, what are you giving me, right? But like, I want to use this as like my homepage thing, right? Like, and then, okay, so with an example, I'm gonna give them this. So I'm going to, I don't know if you guys know this, but shift return is to create new line. That's very useful for formatting, okay? So here, draft an intro text for me as a design leader. So that's the same as before. Here's an example. Let's see what it gives us. It's still very long, right? So then now, basically, I need to give it context. But in terms of the format, this versus this is slightly different, or maybe more different because of what I'm starting to show him. Okay, this is the style that I want you to follow. I am da 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 da. Right now, the next thing that I would do if I wanted to make this better is to provide the context and the constraints, right? Let's say, for example, revise to be used for my homepage intro, max 20 words. Right? So that's how we iterate on this. But the main thing I want to show you is that if I started with this, with the example, with this constraint, then most likely I'll get like something that's really, really good. Like this, right? Draft an intro text to be used, blah, 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 maximum. I'm going to remove this edit. Questions so far?
Nope.
Hi, Farah.
Hey Dan, sorry, I was late. I didn't realize it was at 6. I just assumed it was at 7 like last time.
No worries, no worries. So we just got started with the prompt engineering portion. Just a little recap. The first type of prompt that we talk about is called zero shot prompting, which means that there's no chance in hell you're gonna get what you want because you're not giving it an example. That's what zero shot is. So the example here, you can see my screen, is like just like this with the draft an intro text for me as a design leader. So that's an example. And then like few shot or multi-shot, sometimes people call it, is like when you give it an example. Right? So do this, here's an example. Now we're gonna start building on top of that with adding more context, more constraint. So earlier Lisa mentioned something interesting. Basically, from engineering, it's like writing a good email to somebody, right? So that's what that is. But we're gonna like put labels into these different techniques so that we can use them as as we see necessary, have them in our toolbox. Okay, cool. Now moving on, the next thing is chain of thought prompting. So chain of thought prompting is like in that email that we're sending to our intern. The AI is the intern, by the way. We give it some instruction. These are the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Like, let's design onboarding flows. First, start with this, then do this, then do this, then do this. This way, they know what to do. Make sense? Giving the instruction. Now, here's an example. So I'm going to drop this. The task is, I'm going to drop this. Let's see what it gives us. I'm going to start a new chat. This is Claude, by the way, Farah, Claude.ai. If you haven't used this, please go there, Claude.ai, and sign up because we're going to play around with that. So again, the exact same thing, right? That I just pasted. Task, identify content for a dashboard of a banking system, online transactions. So I gave it, this is the context. And then these are the steps. Let's see what it gives us. So it's identifying number 1, the data points, right? Logical groupings, okay. And then information prioritization. And then now it's building the wireframe. Yeah, normally this is when like some people who have not played with this AI tool be like,
Yeah, I've never seen this before. This is pretty cool. Like, yeah, why not have it just generate code?
yeah, and it's for you for visualization. This is like amazing. You can just visualize this. Go ahead, because that's what wireframe is about, right? Yeah, we'll see what it actually generates. When it's like very, very complex and you need it to like go deep into it, this is probably what you've been hearing. Claude 3.7 Sonnet that just released, they have like this version called Extended. It's really good at like coding and stuff. Anyway, so we'll see. In a minute, it's going to show us what the thing looks like. It's actually pretty thorough, seems like.
And then see, you can just copy or export that code however you want and put it wherever you want. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, you can actually, it actually works. So you can potentially do prototyping this way, and that's what, oh, there you go.
Crazy. That's completely crazy. That's super cool.
So, okay, so let's say I'm not happy with this and I'm just like, okay, I'm just like, make mobile version. But it definitely follows the direction, right? Step by step, doom, 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 doom. The one thing that I want to caution you against, though, is that if we go this route, sometimes it runs too fast and we could lose control of our product design process, right? Because like our brain tends to be lazy as humans. We want to conserve energy, and the easiest thing to say is, oh, this looks good. And then because of that, then we probably could miss something. Questions, thoughts before I continue?
I'm sorry. What was the original prompt to get the banking dashboard wireframes?
Okay, so this is I'm gonna go with the very top. I only gave it one prompt, right? And this is the prompt. The task is identify content for dashboard of a banking system for online transaction. these are the steps. List all data points, group into logical sections, prioritize the information, identify the layout principles for good UX, and then create the wireframe. So this is called the chain of thought, which is basically we're giving it the list of steps to follow. Instead of just saying identify content for this, or maybe create wireframe for this. Let's actually see what happens if we just say create a wireframe for this. Let's see what that looks like. Create a wireframe for. Elena, you have a question?
Oh, yes, speaking Russian. Just a quick question. Will we able to have a recording for this? Obviously, we're not going to distribute it just for our personal like memories.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Because I'm like super slow with some things. Thank you.
No worries. So it's in this one, it's going straight to wireframing, right? Let's see what it gives us compared to the other one. Actually, I'm gonna open a new window so we could see that side by side what it generated earlier with like the, what was it? Key data.
I don't know anything about like the code it's writing. I'm curious like how like efficient the code is. Like if it's like writing, like if it's like being duplicative or doing it the long way. I'm just like curious about that.
I don't know, but one thing that I got distracted by is the pie chart. The deflated
How
pie
does
chart.
it look like that? Like,
I don't know, but it looks deflated. Okay.
which I think probably means like like it obviously it isn't like real data because like if it was a real pie chart, it would like be a circle.
So here's interesting, right? Like if we look at this versus this, we thought the context, we thought the steps, it's going through this, created this multi thing, account summary, quick transfer, and then this one has this, which is more thorough in terms of the information that it presents. Because this one has monthly budget, security, transaction. It took the time to figure out what those things are. With this, it's just like taking the best guess. Transaction is there, there's transfers, bill payments, doesn't have the security center or financial help there. Thoughts? So this is just like its best guess. This one, after we gave it this different things to go through, right? Information prioritization, all these things.
I would be curious if like about like obviously like because like the chain of thought prompt is still like very vague though because it's like prioritize based on what though like so
Yep.
like I could like you could like I could see how like this could get like exponentially more specific.
Yep. Fair. Mm-hmm.
This prompt, this information prioritization, this is something that you followed up with in terms of prompting, or was this something that
No,
was
that's a different technique that we'll talk about later. But
okay.
this one is just like you drop this whole like these are the steps to follow.
Okay, and based on that, these wireframes were generated.
Yep. And this one, no steps whatsoever. So that's the difference. Right?
No steps whatsoever, but you gave the specifications.
There is no
It's
specification
just
other
yeah, I
than
think the other one is just give me what you Claude think a banking dashboard is.
yep.
Okay.
So this is based off of its training data, right? The best it can guess. This one we give it a bit more direction. I said, okay, consider more carefully the data points to include on this kind of screen, and then group them into logical sections. And then, so that's the difference between the two. Now, to Lisa's point, we probably don't see much of a difference in this case, or it's hard to see because potentially this one, if we could use more context, more directions, more focus, I guess steps, right? Depending on our goal. Make sense?
So how, I feel like the more vague prompt gave a very comprehensive dashboard at the, from the, like as a first iteration.
I'm sorry, say it again, Farah?
The prompt with the with less words and less specifications gave a more comprehensive output as
Could
opposed
be.
to,
It could seem that way, but
okay.
the problem with this potentially for us is that as a designer, we may look at this and think that, oh, this looks good. Let's show this to the stakeholder already, right? Without realizing what's in there, what it puts in there,
Okay.
right? So the comprehensiveness is something that we need to evaluate. But now back to the prompt technique. This is one of the techniques is if you feel like this is going too fast and going in the direction that, for example, if I did this, I got this, and I'm like, wait. I'm not sure if I have all the correct information here,
Okay.
right? Then I would go to this route. Then I would make it slow down a bit to kind of evaluate this step by step. Make sure you have all these things, and then do this, and then do this, and then do this. Right. I don't know, like as designers, I don't know if you guys have like worked with more junior designers who end up with something really, really beautiful, and then you're like, well, but everything is wrong in there. Lisa can relate.
What was your thinking putting it like this?
You're like, oh, I wasn't thinking much. Anyway, so moving on. So that's like the chain of thought prompting, right? Now, this is like a crazy one, but it's actually quite interesting. It's called tree of thoughts. So what it is that it's we're asking the AI to explore multiple branches of thoughts, right? For example, in this example, how to get to the store. We can potentially walk, we can drive, we can take the bus, and then for walking, we can take the short route through the park, long, and so on, right? And then for each one, consider this, and then it will give us a recommendation. Right, so this is really good for identifying, okay, which option is the best option. So with that, let's give it a try. For example, like this is the define new feature. Let's see what it gives us. For the banking app again. For tracking transactions. Okay, so that's like the context I give it, and then create 3 separate solutions with this. And then, by the way, Farah, I don't know if you missed this. Shift return is to create a new line.
Okay.
On this. Otherwise, it just kind of runs it. So create an internet and then recommend the best option based on ROI, right? Anything you want to add here? Okay, let's try. Let's run it.
It's not taking into account the previous prompt. This is completely from, it's not.
I'm sorry?
This prompt, whatever it's going to generate is not impacted by your previous banking.
Nope, not at all. This is like completely new, completely blank slate. So there's no consistency. If you wanted to continue that, like the same thing, you would need to actually, at the end of the last thing, you need to come up with some kind of recap, ask it to give you a recap that you can use for the next one.
So are you following that question? Are you like, did you make a new chat, or is this like you know how like in ChatGPT you can have like various different chats and you just
This
go
is a
back
new
and
chat. You can see
Oh,
it
okay. So you started a new chat for gotcha.
completely. Yeah.
Cool.
I could
That's why it's
potentially,
long. Okay.
yeah, I could have continue with the last one, but I feel like there is no use of that because it's a different thing. Anyways, because I don't want the whole purpose of this is to evaluate the prompt quality. I don't want this to be, I guess, like affected by the previous one. got the context. So with the tree of thoughts, it's like it went through these three different scenarios, right? And then, but like what I showed earlier, you could go like branch out within three also. And then this one, it gives you timeline, resource requirements, customer value, premium feature, the same thing. And then look at that. Comparison synthesis, recommendation is the progressive premium approach. So Farah, this will be useful for you for your product management
Yeah,
stuff.
it's giving PRD vibes.
Yeah.
We're actually kind of trying to do we're like working on doing something like this in service design at my job for like generating like first drafts of experience blueprints and first drafts of journey maps, where it's like, here's a persona and a scenario, like what are the steps that they
Mhm.
might take, so that we can draft something before we have interviews, so that when we interview people, there's like something to validate in the first one.
So there's a hypothesis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like I didn't have like a name for it. I didn't know it was called Tree of Thought prompting. But that is like super useful. This is like such a cool thing. I'm trying to get put on to shadow the projects where a couple of folks are doing that at my job. Because yeah, this is such a good use case.
I'm just curious what it comes up with when we visualize it. So it's always fun for me to ask it to like, okay, visualize this, visualize that, because it can do that anyways. But sometimes you need to give it more direction. This is obviously an example of zero shot. Now, zero shot prompting actually has a use. If you're not sure, it's almost like when you're doing user interviews, right? You don't know the area to explore. You could start with that, zero shot, so you can kind of get an idea of what to explore. Yeah, it's a mess. It's like, yeah, okay, visualize this. Okay, I don't know what to visualize, but here you go.
Is this an issue of scale or responsiveness, or like having the trajectory? And I've noticed in the previous design there's that deflated pie chart.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
But like in terms of why this doesn't make sense is because we're not helping it to make sense of it. We're just like saying that go do this. Of course it's gonna fail because there is no success
It's the
there.
visual version of predictive text.
Yes. It's like asking somebody like, what do you want? No. Anyway, so that's that. Moving on, self-consistency. Sometimes this is helpful when the AI is hallucinating, or you're not sure if they're hallucinating or not. Keep asking the same question over and over, right? And then generate three different approaches, then analyze pros and cons of this thing to find the patterns. Prompt chaining. This is something that is basically the iterative process. So for example, going back to the previous one. Actually, we're gonna do this next one. So we did this, right? The task to create the dashboard. But instead of doing all this at once, we'll just do one at a time. So start with this. Start with listing all data points. So this way, we could actually have different checkpoints to see if this makes sense or not before we move on to the next thing, right? Okay. So let's say that we like this, then we're like, okay, next, group the info into logical sections. So essentially, it's using what we generated, the output of the previous prompt, as the input for the next one. In between, you can refine it, right? So in this case, group into this. And at this point, you can say that, okay, let's say remove system performance section. Right? So this way you have control over that and you get a better understanding of what's going on before it's going too far. So now we have this financial security authentication, analytic insights. Okay. The next thing is prioritize the information. Prioritize the information for best usability and frequency of use. Now, this feels slower, but at the same time, it's actually faster because you're actually more in tune with what it's doing, right? And then from there, we can, okay, identify layout principles for this type of dashboard. Okay, kind of information, specifically dashboard. Sure, right? Looks good. Okay, now apply. Create a wireframe. Applying the principles to the prioritized information. Let's see if we get a better information in there. So that's one of the things that I highly recommend is to actually consciously put in place different checkpoints because this thing could run so fast. It's almost like if you don't know where you're going, it's like you're jumping on an Uber and it's taking you somewhere that you don't know. And you have to go, okay, take me back home. And then, okay, just go. And then go to the next place, take me home. Where are you going? Questions before we move on while we're waiting for this or thoughts? Look at that. And then from here, you can potentially ask it to make it interactive also if you want it. Then you can test it.
How would you prompt it to be interactive?
Turn this into an interactive prototype. There you go. So
Wow.
It's actually going to code it in React
it's
as opposed
actually
to
coding it.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
And you just ask. It's
Nicely.
we'll see how good it is. I think in the past I was able to get something that's decent from this. And then sometimes you can even ask it like the tree of thought prompting. You could ask it to give you different versions of the same thing. For example, with that banking app, normally I would have given it a prompt to give me like different layout first. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now I'm gonna publish it.
So ChatGPT doesn't do that yet, right?
I don't know actually. I haven't been using ChatGPT to be honest. Okay, I'm gonna drop it in the thing in the chat now. I want you guys to open it, and you can also remix it.
Obsessed already.
You can go to remix artifacts and from there make a change. For example, I think the tabs don't work. You can tell it, oh, the tabs don't work. Or I'm curious. I want each of you to improve this one way and then share it back to the chat. And then I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. So this is almost like the future of collaboration.
How do we use this artifact and collaborate on it? So like, because this was an external link, I clicked it into another window, and so
Yeah.
Sorry,
how do
Farah, I'm
I?
having a hard time hearing you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So I clicked. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Okay. So I clicked. I'm currently viewing the artifact, and how do I then utilize it and prompt over it? How do I do that?
Okay. At the bottom here, it says remix artifact.
Okay.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, click on that and it would create this, something like this, which is like this version, but then you can prompt it.
Okay.
Let's see. So what do we do? Like we just click remix
Remix
artifact.
artifact, yep. And then it will start a new chat for you that looks like this.
Okay, and
So basically it would use this artifact as a starting point for
Mhm.
your chat.
Perfect.
What is something that we should focus on in terms of goals for what this app would do, so that we can direct our prompt to kind of achieve that goal?
You're a product manager. I think you can come up with one to save the user money.
Okay.
Don't think too much. Don't think too hard. The whole point of this is I want you guys to try something and see what that looks like, and then we'll compare notes.
Okay.
So you can look at it from the perspective of adding value, or maybe just usability. What would make this easier to use? Or what would you, or maybe move the content higher? This one, for example, you want a pending transaction at the very top, something like that.
Okay.
And it sometimes like this, it would actually suggest improvements. Yeah, the tabs don't work because we haven't prompted it to get there.
Still like super cool. I'm like super impressed.
Yeah, I mean, like something like this, if we had to do this in Figma, how long would that take, right? At
Oh,
least an hour, at least, if you're really good.
no, this is really cool. As a foundation, it's amazing, like in a few
Yeah.
seconds. Really cool.
Especially for wireframing, you don't, I mean, like we want to keep it medium fidelity. This is already like somewhat closer to higher, actually, higher fidelity. If we want to keep it medium fidelity, it's even better.
Yeah, I like that it's kind of like precise compared to Figma AI plugins because I tried a few recently and they weren't giving me like such a thorough result.
Mhm. And I think what's very productive, in my opinion, for the process is that this makes us focus on this, which is the feature, the content, all these things, as opposed to the technical part of like making the wireframe itself. So it focused the conversation on that, at least in my mind.
One thing I will say though is like there's like kind of an art to like the level of fidelity that you're showing to a stakeholder, like to get their input. So like the risk of this is the going too fast again, where you risk like for a quick draft showing something that looks too hi-fi, so people feel like they can't make like design changes, basically.
Actually, like I was going to suggest like can you do it like a black and white or whatever or low fidelity just to make it like a more
But I'm gonna ask it, Elena, let's see what it does
yeah, yeah, that's great.
for the Shift D. A's and links. Right? So make it grayscale and making everything grayscale except for the links and CTAs. Let's see, because that's what I normally do with my grayscale wireframes. So again, that's like the constraint that we give it, right? Like we need to direct it because even with working with actual designers, human designers, we need to give it what level of fidelity. What does that mean? Medium versus low. And to your point, Lisa, like depending on the conversation that you need to have that with the stakeholders, you want to figure out the level of fidelity. Sometimes even just like the blocks of content is what we want as opposed to having layout. And with that, you can just like boom, 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 like figure it out. Here you go. Grayscale. Okay, so I'm curious to see. Okay, Lisa, what do you have here? You want to talk about what you did?
Sure, I just had to add a little bit of visual hierarchy difference between current balance and available because those mean two different things.
Nice.
And I wanted it to have available be the most highlighted.
Have fun ready to. Nice. Okay. Cool. Farah, Elena, you got something to show us too from your remix?
Not yet. I was just watching what you guys were doing. Sorry.
Yeah, right now I actually don't like the direction it went when I prompted it to give me visual hierarchy and also primary and secondary CTAs. It kind of gave me some weird combination of colors. So
Well, actually, if you guys are okay with sharing what's not working also, that could be useful
Yeah,
for
for
us.
what it's worth, I had to correct mine too, because like it like left things out when I gave it the prompt. So I had to then be like, no, go back and include the rest of the dashboard and stuff.
oh
So
yeah,
here's the thing, Farah. I think this is something that I mentioned earlier before you joined. This is called generative AI, right? So it generates something new every single time. Consistency with the previous one sometimes is hard for these tools. So there are times when you need to recheck the work to make sure that it includes everything from the previous version. That's one of the big limitations of these different LLMs,
okay.
AI in general.
Yeah, because it's starting to sort of deviate from what I was
Yeah.
trying to tell it to do in the first place.
Yep.
So my second iteration is not even close.
Yes.
Uh,
Sometimes, like after a while, it turns into something totally different, and you have to revert back, right? But the good thing about at least, oh, turn to dark mode. The good thing about Claude at least is that it separates it like into this. Well, hold on, into this kind of artifact, so you can download it and like upload it again as an attachment and say, hey, no, use this as a starting point.
okay, and so something like this, what file format is that when you
Or
download it?
so when you download this, I don't know. I think it's MD, but like you can make it like do HTML. Normally, I just ask it to create an HTML. And also, it depends on what you want to use it for, right? So if you want to use it to prompt a new thing as an attachment for a new prompt, then whatever it gives you, you can just put it back in without like having to worry about what file format.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you done any sort of like rapid user testing with this, with anything that you generated from Claude AI before?
I have not, but I could see how this could work because this works. The prototype here is way better than Figma prototypes.
Okay.
It's actually coded.
Yeah, it's coded. And I was able to create an actual working thing with API with this plus love like another like coding agent that we'll play around with, push it live. And it could with that coding agent, you could even add database and authentication.
Yeah, was the API like pulling in like live data from somewhere? Oh, that's really cool.
What it is a stock price calculator based on a certain valuation to see if it's a good buy or not. So that's what I used for.
Yeah, that's like a really good example kind of one because it'll always be changing.
Changes all the time. Okay, Elena, Farah, you got something to show us? Oh, Farah, you got something already. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I put the right link in that. I just took whatever was in the browser. Yeah. Okay, that's
Uh, okay, sorry. This is like not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me. It's because I'm using Chrome for this. I'm gonna open this chat,
yeah.
not found.
Let me see if it's this thing. No, this
So
is
you need to publish it first, probably, and then share that.
Or maybe you can just share your screen if it's
Oh yeah, you can share your screen too if you want, if that's easier.
okay. Well, I
You
got
may need to ask for permission, which I will give. Okay.
yeah, hopefully this works.
Okay, Elena, go ahead.
Mhm. Actually, hopefully I can you see my screen, guys?
No, I need to stop sharing first, maybe. Okay, try
Okay.
again.
Same again, okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. So I just made a very simple iteration. I asked for to add the content to the tabs, and now we can see like a transaction page, like a payments
Oh,
settings. So like, yeah, I'm surprised.
you
That's
you
what
just
I.
ask it to make them work.
Yeah, I just said like, could you please like add the content to the transactions, payments, and settings tabs, and this is how it looks. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, for the first iteration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Farah, are you ready to share?
You could go ahead. Yeah, I just shared the link on the thing. It looks
Okay.
completely nothing like anything.
Copy that desktop again. Let's see. Oh, okay. You got balanced. Okay, visualization. Oh, okay. You're making money. I like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to work with it a little bit more. That I don't know if
Yeah,
the
of course.
line graph is
Did you specify a line graph?
yeah, because it gave me a bar graph, and I just wanted to see like how the uh visualizations look, just to see what kind of variations it could produce. But yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily keep this. Looks like a savings account, kind of like really plateaued line graph. So yeah, it's not very exciting.
Okay. But like at least you're starting seeing like what it could do for you, right? Within like seconds. You just create that and you can actually explore more with that. That's the whole point of this. And then you can see this being used in like a brainstorming session with stakeholders, right? You send this out and then like, okay, this is the base. Now do something and send it back to me. Or like even at like a meeting, everybody do something for like 5 minutes, like what we just did. What do you think could make this better, right? That could be just one thing, just do one thing that could make this better. Everybody does something and then we share back and we talk about it. And we can get requirements quickly that way from stakeholders.
Do you feel like it's uh, stakeholders are ready to kind of I mean, would they want to be like active participants in terms of prompting and doing this, or is it better to just get suggestions like sort of them pointing out what they don't like or what they like, and then you going about it?
Um, from my experience, it depends on the stakeholders, but like the insecure ones would just want to tell you what they just want to say no to things because they don't have ideas. And this is one of the best ways to have them not block you, right? Because like these middle managers mostly just like, no, just show me something when you have it, and then whatever you show them, they're gonna be like, yeah, it could be better if you don't. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. But what do you like? Well, come up with new ideas, right? And they just like put you in that kind of like, I guess, hamster wheels forever. So the best way to combat that, because a lot of these middle managers don't want to sound dumb, right? That's why they don't want to say something and it turns out to be a bad idea. That's exactly the reason. Is to
Call them
actually
to the
have
front of the
that.
class.
Was that?
Call them to the front of the class.
Yep. So in this case, you can just say, oh, this is a throwaway anyways. We're just playing around with the new ideas and then we're going to have this, right? Everybody has good ideas. Try something and maybe even put something that you can. This is something that I normally use in facilitation for something like this. Make sure that you include something that's crazy or dumb, at least crazy or dumb. So that is disguised as in like, even if your idea is dumb, it's okay. Makes them feel safe. Because like the problem with a lot of stakeholders is that essentially they just don't want to sound dumb, and they just, because especially if they're already like higher up. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. I wonder because like they expect you to present something. So how ready are they to kind of be a participant and kind of do the legwork, like that kind of thing? Like,
Well, I mean, I think it's just how you frame it in the context you do it in. Like if it's a workshop with stakeholders, not a presentation to stakeholders, those are two different things. Also, like I feel like this isn't for every stakeholder. Like Danny's like example of like the problem stakeholder, like yeah, like call them to the front of the class, make them actively do the thing. Um,
And you
but
don't.
yeah, like I totally wouldn't like present this to someone either. I
Yeah.
agree.
And it's something that I think would require more. We need to talk about this more in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. But then in terms of if you're working with an agile team, a team who like already, few developers, product managers, and you, for example, right? And you guys trying to iterate on a product, this is great
right.
because they would love this, right? Like, oh, what about this? What about that? And then you're the main point there is that you're the facilitator of this. You're not being replaced by this thing. It's almost like you're doing like what they call it participatory design exercise with this, right? So you're driving this. That's, I think, the main takeaway there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a question. So is it possible to provide style references before you? I know this. Yeah, for example, so this is kind of like a very arbitrary, I'm not sure if I'm using the correct word, design, like it's out of the blue, the style. Can I provide like a few actual like style examples and like, yeah, can it style the way I want it to be?
The short answer is yes, but not straightforward, right? So that's when you need to use these different prompting techniques. So
Uh-huh.
just a quick example, this morning I did a webinar and I created the slides using Claude. And I was able to get the styling from something like this. Actually, let me just see if I could find that. Um, Notification, where was it? Ah, LinkedIn. No. Oh, maybe in my messages. Let me just go to messages. It's easier. Okay, this one. Yes, LinkedIn. Shut up. Okay. I was able to create this using Claude,
Really cool.
but it was painful. So this is like where I had to actually give it this thing
Uh-huh.
and then have it analyze it step by step first. Analyze it. Okay, what are the color scheme for the background, the color scheme for this? What are the different visual elements? And then for each of the visual elements, identify the size, the characteristic like font, making like analyze it to death.
Mhm.
And then I say, okay, now apply it to this. Then it was able to do that. When I just said apply this to this, it just like blah.
How did you have it study a style? Did you like how did you like upload something to it? Or did you like hyperlink it to a thing?
You can
Like how
upload
did you have it be the source?
for this, you can upload visuals. So Claude has vision. So
Oh, gotcha.
and you can
Recognizes
to
process.
Google Drive or GitHub. So one of the cool actually use case is that if you're doing in-person affinity mapping, right? So let's say you got like bunch of let's say usability study and bunch of stakeholders with post-its, put it on the wall. Instead of moving it manually, just take a picture with Claude on your phone and have it organize it for you. I've done that and I was like,
It's the Miro AI sort thing, but in real life.
in real
Or
life.
but for real life, yeah.
And this is actually working so much better than Figma because I did like the FigJam, right, for like observation, and it has the AI thing, and I selected that and I tried to get it to do that, and it struggled so bad. And then I ended up just having the FigJam open and take a picture with my phone on Claude, and Claude did it. But anyway, so that's the visual thing. To Elena, you could do that, but it's not really the best tool for it. You could still do it though, but it's not the best tool for it. Okay, so moving on. So, oh snap, we have to get to the fun part. Okay, next. So these are just few more techniques. Role assignment. So we do this a lot, right? In Agile user stories, for example, as blah blah blah, do this. You can apply this. I think Lisa, you mentioned this, right? Do this as if I'm a kindergarten student, right? Explain it to me as if I'm a fifth grader or something like that. Or in this case, as a UX researcher conducting user interview, blah, 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 review the interview script. So you can go far with this. Potentially, you can take a screenshot of your screen and then give it to Claude and say, as a, and then you describe the persona, describe what you're seeing and what you can do here. So that's a quick usability test. Contextual priming, giving the context, like the constraints, the goal of the project and whatnot, which we started doing earlier with the online banking app. Format definition, this is how I want you to give me the output. Essentially, that's what this is, right? For example, list 3 usability issues for using this format, the issue name, the evidence, and then if you want to make it even more robust with the few shot example, you give it like this. Just like writing an email to a robot, right, Lisa? So even better if you can combine them all together, right? This is the RCTF framework, like basically just all the acronym of these different things, the role, the context, the task, and the format, combine them all together into a robust prompt. The thing that was like a different mindset for me when I shifted to like trying to do this more is that from Google, we're so used to just using the keywords, right? Very short. With this, it's more verbose, like again, writing an email or talking to somebody. So this could be a prompt, a long prompt like this, right? Like as a UX researcher at this, so you're giving it context. You do this, you're giving it the role. You give the AI a role to play. We've received this is the context. And this is the goal. Our product team needs to understand the clear pain points or sprint planning. And then the task, please synthesize da 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 da. And then for each issue you identify, structure your response with, right? Giving it the direction. And here's an example. So the role, the context, the task, the format. So if you got all this, normally you'll get something decent. Now I'm going to talk about critical evaluation integration, and we'll get into the quick hands-on stuff. Principles for working with AI: augment, not replace, like what we played around earlier. Make sure that you're in the process. Don't just let the AI run and you're not part of it. Start with a clear goal. If you don't know where you want it to take you, you're going to end up where you don't want to end up at. Start slow. Think about that. Like, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? What is the metric I'm going to use to measure this? Implement checkpoints. So we talk about that a little bit. Know where you are in the process. This is very important. A lot of times the AI would take you like so fast and you're like, wait. I think earlier we talked about this, like, what do I need to produce at this point in my project? Like, am I ready for high fidelity, for example? Or what level of fidelity level? Role play, always have the user in mind. In this case, not just the user as in the end user, but also like the stakeholders are your users, right? What do they want to see now? Or what do they need to see to get to the next thing? And the AI is just a tool to help you get there faster. Some integration ideas. So we're still using the design thinking process. We're not moving away from here, right? So empathize. These are the different things you can do. Create survey, create research plan, all the planning documents, right? And then from the other side, synthesizing all these different things, processing the data. And also market research is very useful, by the way. So especially with like the deep research stuff, perplexityU.com is really good with that. To define, to create personas, problem statements, success metrics, to validate that, to research the benchmarking data. This is also very good to do with these tools. Ideate, which we started doing, right? Ideating on features, creating flow diagrams, potential paths, potential information architecture. So these different artifacts that we normally do by hand, use this thing, right? Why bother doing it by hand if it can do it? But make sure that it doesn't replace the thinking, though. Producing the artifact, yes, not the thinking. Design prototyping, which we'll play around with in working code. And then for testing, potentially for usability review, for like synthesizing again, usability notes, creating usability report, and kind of light usability tests like what I mentioned earlier, like uploading a screenshot and have it tell you what it sees as if it's a user. That's something that you could do, but it doesn't replace the actual usability testing, obviously. So how do you evaluate it, right? So the biggest thing is really the simplest way is, does it actually save me time? Or is it actually adding more work? Sometimes technology does that. So this is my way of doing it. Traditional process, I list out the steps. AI assisted, I list out the step, and then I compare the hours. And in most cases, it's actually way more dramatic than this, right? So I noticed 3 to 4 to like 5 times more productivity when I'm using AI stuff. These are ways to evaluate the outputs, the relevance. Does it actually address the problem? Is it easy to use, usability-wise? Consistency, this is a massive one, because like I said, generative AI tend to not be consistent. And innovation, does it offer new perspective? Because a lot of time you just keep working with existing patterns. There's at some point you may need to question the patterns. And then, of course, the ethical consideration, right? The privacy, transparency, like this is the massive one, the transparency part, because if we're interacting with human versus AI as a user, would that erode the trust? Would that be helpful? And how much more? Like, for example, usability testing maybe is actually allowing the user to be more honest in their feedback if they think they're talking to a machine. Maybe. So bias mitigation, knowing the biases that come with the training data, and of course we need to maintain the control. Questions before we move on, and I think we can do like maybe 4 minutes break, water break.
Quick question about you mentioned that you want as an individual to be in control of the design thinking and not necessarily the AI being in control of the design thinking. Can you just clarify as to why that's the case, or why we should be mindful of that?
Because at the end of the day, we're designing for humans, right? And then also the role of the designer is actually in decision making and like the decision making on behalf of the end user, which then would allow us to extract value from them for the business, right? If we deliver value for the end user, then we can get value from them for the business. So if we're not in control of the process and the AI is making decision will be based off of like whatever training data that they have, then we're actually removing ourselves from the equation and we're not actually serving the users.
Okay, see.
Make sense? There are low-level decisions that we don't need to make. The AI can make. For example, a very easy example would be like, let's say we're doing like low-fi or medium fidelity wireframes. What kind of gray should we use? Who cares, right? It's gray. Pick a gray. What font do we use for the medium fidelity wireframe? Who cares? Pick one. That's the decision we don't need to make. The AI can make that decision. But like which feature and what information to include, we need to have a say in that as a designer because we're the ones who actually are serving the users, not the AI.
Okay, makes sense. Thank
Yeah,
you.
cool. So I'm gonna put the timer on the clock and for 4 minutes. Yes, good.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Helena, are you there? We ready to move on?
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Next, this is going to be you guys doing the work. So we don't need to team up, but the main thing here, because there's only three of you, the main thing is that we're going to do this. Mobile and app feature for indoor plant maintenance. Any of you plant parent? Yes? No,
I
no.
could.
I'd like to think I am.
I
Oh,
have Lego plants.
okay. So we're designing just one feature for a mobile app for indoor plant maintenance. Okay. So first, so we're gonna do the whole process until prototyping. First, I want to use Perplexity.ai. And just the main thing here is to define the target user. Who should you target? Right? By the end of that, you should know the persona, who you target, and the problem that they're facing. Okay? Start now.
Quick question. If you're sharing your screen with any kind of prompt, I think your screen is frozen. I
Oh,
can't see anything if you were sharing it.
maybe I'm sharing this wrong thing. Hold on. Give me a
Cool. Thank you.
Can you guys see? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So again, Perplexity.ai, we want to make sure we're designing for the right audience, right? Who actually has this problem. So the two questions I want you to answer first before the number three, not the first two, is like, who are they, the persona, and what is the problem that they have with indoor plant maintenance? And I want you guys to use Perplexity because it has citation on the data to back up these things.
I'm just curious, who owns Perplexity?
Not me.
What is it like Microsoft or
No, I think that's independent.
it's independent? Okay.
They're actually trying to kill Google, but they're independent.
Okay.
I don't know who the investors are. I'm sure like the same VCs are invested in them, but they're getting so big that they even try to they put in the bid to merge with TikTok.
Oh,
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, when you have the persona and the problem, you feel somewhat confident with them, put number one in the chat so I know. Oh, that was quick. Okay.
Detail I need. And Remy, what is the goal is we're coming up with a feature for the app, like
Yep. So the goal is at the end we improve the app that is responsible for plant maintenance, right? With one, but now we want to make sure that it's actually a feature that solve a problem for the people who actually are using this, who actually have that problem.
It's just like from the first attempt.
Okay, so are you confident in that, Elena?
I think
Backed by data?
I would say it's pretty generic.
So is it giving you data to back that up?
I probably should ask it.
Because Perplexity should give you some kind of data. So for example, who's having trouble with plant? For example, right? And it's giving us these sources. Then I want you guys to come up with ways to prompt this so that you can bring this up with the stakeholder and show them the money before they give you the green light to work on the app, right? Work on this feature. How would you do that?
Danny, did you like put anything in the chat because I don't see any messages after I share it?
No, it's are you guys still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I don't think so.
no,
Am I? Sorry about that. I see. No, I don't see the
no,
screen.
you guys can't see my screen?
It says
No, I
who's
can see your
having trouble.
screen.
Oh, my fault. Sorry about that. My fault, totally. I was just like, yeah, sorry.
So this is what I put in, who's having trouble, and they give me this, right?
Mhm.
The question is, where's the money? So what would you ask it so that you could potentially convince your stakeholders that this is the right feature? Or this is the right audience, not a feature yet. This is the right audience to target.
Danny, can you go back to the slide, the prompt slide? So just to clarify, so should we be asking Perplexity to define the user, or are we like ourselves coming up with like a target user that we then like prompt Perplexity?
To validate your assumption,
Yeah.
which one is faster and more reliable? Because the end goal is the same though, right? The end goal is you end up with a persona, target persona, to develop this for that you can pitch to your stakeholders.
Gotcha.
Elena, is that making sense?
Yes.
Because the reason for this is because everyone is going to become like Farah, because everyone will become both product manager and product designer. I think that's where this is going. So we need to engage the business side, not just doing the design. I mean, it's already going in that direction, right?
Mhm.
So the question that I'm going to be asking you guys after you have the answer is, what's the data that back up this recommendation for this target audience?
At this level, for example, if you're looking to create a solution, are you looking at the monetization of it, or are you just looking at the idea of solution, creating a solution?
Well, we're starting with the money first, the monetization first. Where is the money? Because the money indicates that there's a problem, right? If we're spending money to solve problems, essentially. So that's one way to look at that.
The solution is not necessarily a tech related solution, right? It could be a business model for a subscription plan. Like it doesn't have to be an app or anything.
Potentially, but for this particular exercise, we want to design a feature for the app.
Okay.
That's the constraint of the solution, but we want to make sure that feature actually addresses a real problem where there is a real money. Does it make sense?
Because if it's not addressing a real problem, people won't spend money to solve it.
Yep.
Is that what it's getting at?
Yep. And normally that comes later, but then that's what you need to have in order to convince the stakeholders to greenlight your project. What I want you guys to do is to just like start asking questions and interacting with this perplexity and see what it gives you. You can even straight up ask the question that I asked you. Elena, how are you doing?
Yeah, I actually generated couple of things. I'm not sure. I directly asked like how can I monetize it? And it gave me like a few options. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. This is what you expect me to do, right?
And then did you get the answer of like which persona to target for the purpose of monetization?
Okay, I can like shape it. Just give me a second.
Because at the end of the day, businesses normally care about only two things, making money and saving costs, right? More revenue or less cost. So in this case, it's more like on the more revenue, most likely. So where is the money?
So at what point do you want us to stop? Like when we have like a list of potentially viable features? Do you want like literally like
At this
just
point,
one?
just one, just like one persona, one problem, and then we move on to coming up with two or three different concepts for that feature to address that problem, and then go to one and go deeper. So for now, if you got the target persona with the problem, we're good. You got that?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Farah, Elena, you got that?
Yes, I have that.
Okay, cool. So I think one of you can share and then we move on. Who wants to share? Not everyone at once.
I'll just go ahead and say I have the millennial audience as the most monetizable demographic.
Okay. And the data that backs it up come from?
The data that backs it up, it comes from a bunch of articles, Grower Talks, Terranium Tribe, Trusted Insight, Trend Source.
Okay. So you have like trending data that indicates this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's really it, right? So you can identify that. What is the problem though?
The problem is browning and yellowing leaves. So like I guess the plants are not not optimal, like they're not growing optimally, they're browning and they're wilting fast.
And they don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Lisa, Elena, you guys want to share anything real quick before we move on?
Yeah, I can share my screen. It's gonna be easier. So what I did, I just directly asked what kind of like what's the sorry about that. Define the target user for indoor planting app very directly, and I feel like it gave me very generic information, which is fine. Then like I asked what kind of data did you use for this kind of content, and gave me just a couple of things that it used some source plant app. Not sure if it's helpful, but it's just an experience. And then I asked like how can you monetize it? Like,
Hmm.
and then based on the information above, what kind of feature do you want me to create?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it gave me at the end, some kind of like plant care companion.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, like a AI-powered plant identification and health analysis, personalized care schedules with smart reminders, virtual plant doctor, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can see like this is like, it provides like a few options.
Yeah.
But I still think, as you, Danny, said, like we have to be on the top of all this data and decide what actually like we need. Because,
Mhm.
but I think it's a great foundation. Uh, Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, directly asking sometimes would yield good result, actually.
Say it again. Sorry, you broke.
Directly asking the AI, like what you
Mhm.
did, could give you some
Yeah,
good result. Just like straight up asking, okay, how do you make money from this? What feature would people pay for?
exactly. Cutting off, like, yeah.
Lisa, you want to add something before we continue?
Um, no, not really.
Okay, so
Nothing to contribute.
so now the next thing is that you got the persona, you got the problem. Now we switch on to Claude, okay, and start generating the solutions. I think Elena, you started that with Perplexity. Sometimes this can like carry over. There's an overlap. Now move on to Claude and ask them to kind of like what we did earlier with the prompting. Now start ideating on that solution. Pick one though. After you have like two or three ideas, pick one to actually develop. Make sense? I want you to get to the same place that we did with the wireframe earlier. Questions?
Can you just repeat the instruction again?
So we have the persona and the problem now.
Yeah.
Next step is to generate two or three possible solutions, right? Like what we see,
Mhm.
like what we saw earlier. And then from there, pick one winning solution that you think, okay, this is the best feature that I want to develop further.
Okay.
And then get it to the point where we have the wireframe, like interactive prototype, essentially, like or
Okay.
one prototype, like what we did earlier.
Cool.
Cool? Yeah. Farah, you
Then
got
you're
that?
gonna, oh, I'm so
Uh,
sorry. Are we using the same platform or we're using cloud?
Let's go to Claude, like what we did
Oh,
earlier.
thank you. Sorry.
Mhm. Perplexity could potentially do that, but it's not as good as I experience it. That's why I want you guys to move to Claude. And then once you got something, um, I want you to share it on the chat again, like what you did earlier. Publish it, share it on the chat. Thank you, Farah.
Thanks. This is like a very crude first iteration. I think I would add more features.
Well, we just need one, and
Oh,
basically something for the experiment, right?
right.
Okay. Oh, well, the plant has a name, Monty.
Oh, looks very cute.
Sorry, what's that, Nana?
No, it looks very cute.
So now I want you to go to Dribble or wherever you get inspirations and get 2 or 3 basically visual design inspirations that you want to use for the UI design. Just grab the images.
When you say like grab images, do you want us to save some images or you want us to copy them in the chat of in the
Uh,
com-
just get download the image or take a screenshot.
Okay.
You can have it locally. So we're going to use that as the inspiration for the AI later to design it. Like typically that's how we do it, right? Like we look at the few different things and like, oh, we like this, we like that, and this is what we want to use for the visual design. So it's the same thing. Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm just now prompting Claude to create a prototype of my #1 feature.
Okay, cool.
Danny, what was the instruction around looking for visual inspiration again?
It's basically just looking for other types of apps similar to what you're creating, right? to give you inspiration, just like when you're starting to design a new thing.
Okay.
And grab the image though, because we're gonna use either take screenshot or grab it somehow.
Okay.
Elena, do you have the Claude wireframe?
Yes, yes, I do.
Did you share it with the group in the chat?
I can share my screen. I'm sorry about that. So this is what I got. I don't know why the first tab is not working, but the rest is kind of like, yeah.
Cool.
It's
Okay.
something. It's something. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Farah, if you are ready, you can go to lovable.dev. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Create an account there, and then prompt it to create. Oh no, before you prompt it, actually create an account first, and let me know when you're ready to move on, and we'll do this together. It's probably just using either GitHub or Gmail.
Thank you. Actually, can do Gmail, Google.
Okay, I created an account.
Great. Lisa, how are you doing?
It's I am revising my prototype.
Okay.
A weird thing happened where I like changed one character and then like the prototype like disappeared. It like made itself blank and I had to like go back. Um, it was interesting. I have no idea why it did that.
Yeah, sometimes it's glitchy like that. Like, what just
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, so I had to like wait like an extra time.
Okay. So, Farah, I think you're ready to move on to the next step, right? You got and Elena, probably you too. Lisa, take your time, and I'll get back with you on that. So the next thing for you guys is on Claude, not Lovable yet, but on Claude. Now, once you have the prototype or wireframe that you're happy with, ask Claude to create a technical requirement document for you.
Just technical. Okay.
Okay, what do I do after the prototype step? Sorry, I like
Have the prototype and you have the images, yes?
uh yeah, I just screenshotted a thing from Journal.
Okay, got that.
Yes.
Next is to get Claude to create the technical requirement document for you.
Okay.
But Danny, based on what? Like on the prototype that we have
Based on the
there?
prototype that you created.
And not yet doing anything with the visual reference screenshot.
Not yet. That's for
Okay.
the next step.
Okay.
So essentially what we're doing now, we're creating everything that we need to bring it to the coding agent. Because as you know, developers want everything ready for them, or else they're gonna push back. Can't hear you, Farah. You're muted.
I have the document ready.
Okay, you have the document ready. Okay, we'll wait a little bit for Elena and Lisa, and then we'll do this together. So you got what you should have is the document and the images for inspiration, right? Well, actually, one more thing. After the document, tell Claude to give you the prompt that you can use to tell a coding agent to develop this. You got that? So ask Claude to give you that prompt. Elena, Lisa, how are you doing?
Yeah, I got the technical requirements document. It's like pretty.
Okay, and then next you need Claude to give you the prompt that you can use with
Wait,
Lovable.
okay. Okay. So how do I shape it? Give me a prompt to give
Yep.
it to an agent or a coding agent, right?
Coding agent, or you can just even mention lovable.dev.
Okay.
Do you have to mention the images at any point right now or no?
Not yet. The images, so what we're doing is we're going to give the images, the technical requirement document, and then the prompt to Lovable. So those are the three components that we would need, right? So the prompt is the instruction. The technical requirement document is something to refer to, the details of the instruction. And then the the images is like the visual instruction, if you will. This is how you should create it.
Okay.
So when you're ready, you can just go ahead and do that on Lovable and see what it gives you. Oh, in the prompt, you actually will need to mention that use the attached images as inspiration for your visual design.
Danny, do you have a preferred way to juggle all these like prompts and outputs? Like what I'm doing is I'm like literally putting it in like labeled toggle sections in my Notion so that I can keep track of anything. Is there like a way to like, because like it's like a lot of prompts and different things.
I honestly, I don't really keep track of them. It's
Just
just
grab
like,
it.
just go.
That's fair.
I mean, like, we'll talk about this after this is done. Like, I do have a preferred way of keeping organized,
Mhm.
which is like with Claude, there's a way to organize that. Farah, how are you doing? Are you able to get Lovable to?
I'm trying to copy and paste my technical requirements document.
You can just download it and like upload it.
Okay.
Because on Claude at the bottom there is the download button. Yelena, how are you doing?
I have a question. So, can I share my screen, please?
Yep.
Okay. So here I am. I'm just trying to copy the prompt.
Good.
It's like public or
Public is fine. Like, before you do that, though, did you attach the stuff?
no, I did not. Oh, you mean like the images?
So you need to attach the images
Okay, so I just copy the prompt here, right?
to your blank app. Let's go back. Go
Okay,
back.
so this is the prompt,
Yeah,
probably.
attach the images, the inspiration, and then tell it use the attach images as inspiration for your UI design, right?
Probably, hopefully. Do I have to make a note or?
Just like shift return and then add a new line that mention that.
Here,
Mhm. And then also download the technical requirement document from Claude and upload it here.
Okay, so not like I did. Okay, that's the images.
Mhm.
But I just copy it directly to the chat, the
Oh, you
prompt.
have the technical requirement document there?
I think so. Like if I'm
Where is the prompt though? Because those are two different things.
yes, you're right. Sorry about that. Okay, so I just go back to this is the technical requirements. Probably. Okay, so
Mhm.
I'll just copy that, right?
If you open that, go back, scroll up a bit, click on that the box there, project plan. Yep, that one,
Okay.
and it show up on the right, and then you can have the download button there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and then you can just upload it. Upload that one, and then you can copy it when you have the prompt there, right?
And just for inspiration, I already did it.
And yep,
I just, what do
and
I do?
it again. Yep.
Oh, it doesn't let me empty because it's different format. Maybe
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay, cancel that and open that first in a text edit and save it as a TXT. Yeah,
Sublime.
fine. As Sublime it works, and then just resave it as TXT.
So just edit, export, copy, post, whatever. What do I do?
From file, go to file, yep, and then save as.
Mhm, downloads and
Oh, where is the?
doesn't let me.
Just
Maybe
change the extension at the end. See if that does it. The file name, just in the end, just change it to TXT instead of MD.
Ooh,
It doesn't like you.
gosh. Um, okay, I'm gonna try. Oh yeah, okay, something. What is happening? Yeah, I guess.
Interesting, it doesn't like the MD. Oh,
Sorry, guys. What's happening? Okay, so I'm doing deleting this. Okay, it was some glitch text.
mhm.
I do
That's save
mode.
it and try to upload that now.
Hi, and I'm going back to Lovable, right? And I'm
Right.
gonna to attach it, right? As we spoke.
Yeah,
Oh, it doesn't let me. That's
then
funny.
maybe you have to copy it. I'm sorry. I thought that it would take that. So just
That's
copy the whole thing right underneath that. Just dump the whole thing. Yeah. So from
okay.
here you can just go to the next to the download button. There's like you can do that too.
That, yeah, and here's the technical requirement document,
Just dump it.
and
Yep.
that.
And it.
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, unexpected error. But it's okay. Okay, so I know what should I what I should do.
Well, let's try again from the beginning. Maybe it's giving you that because it's in the middle of developing the thing. Just copy the entire thing and go back to the home screen
Okay, so
and reattach go to dashboard. Yep.
okay.
Drop the entire thing and then reattach. Farah, how are you doing?
So I copy.
So I prompted it to generate the app. It's like it's generating so much code that I don't like it's a lot of pages of code.
Is it still working?
Yeah, it says
Okay.
spinning up preview now.
Okay. So let's see if the preview actually works. Sometimes you need to kind of like, oh, fix this, fix that. And then the thing is just you just tell it, oh, it doesn't work, fix it, basically. Lisa, how are you doing?
Struggling with the same like trying to attach the technical specs thing, so I'm like doing the whole scrolling around trying to copy paste it into my
Yeah.
into my
It
prompt.
just gave me an error, so now I'll just
It gives you errors too. Okay,
yeah.
maybe it's like it's too complex to.
Yeah.
So this is a typical thing that sometimes with this coding agent, they're like, oh, what is this, right? So then all you gotta do is like two things. One, fix the error. That's just tell it to fix the error. And number two, if it's struggling with that, you can tell it just simplify it, right? So that's something that is typical, like, oh, simplify it to the MVP version.
I see. That's what I thought. Maybe, yeah. Okay.
So what's interesting about this is that it's almost like, again, working with a real person, right? Like a developer. So try that, Farah. If it doesn't work, just tell it, no, simplify it, and so they will work. Typically for us, for UX design process, if the goal of this is to just get to prototyping, two things. One, in a lot of cases, we're good with like what Claude gives us, like what we saw earlier. A lot of times that's good enough. Number two, if we need something higher fidelity, we probably don't need the technical requirement documents because we're just focusing on certain area, right? So that could also be helpful to simplify the project. But the reason why I got you guys to do the technical requirement document is essentially that's mimicking the same way we work with real developers. Especially for you, Farah, in the product management role, normally you need to have this ready, the technical requirement document. And I want you guys to know that this is there and it's fairly easy to create from Claude.
Okay, it actually worked now.
Okay. So what was the prompt that you gave it to make it work?
Sorry, 1 second. Basically, I told it to what did I say exactly? I basically told it to make an app that was based on the technical requirement document and also gave it the inspiration, like the mood board images, and basically told it, make it in a similar to the images I'm providing you.
Mhm.
And I'll just quickly share my screen.
Clara, you didn't provide the prototype, right? Or you did?
No, they were just screen grabs of inspiration. I mean, I don't think it necessarily made it made a very minimalist, eco-friendly kind of interface. I had a more playful, like I grabbed some more like, fun illustrations, but I guess it didn't translate.
Mhm.
I could show you the images. I wanted something like this, a little bit more, playful. Um, I guess it leaned more towards this kind of like minimalist, but this
Mhm.
is like overly minimal to the point that it's, just bare bones. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but it for some, first iteration, something that you can kind of maybe show users for rapid user testing. I think I mean, the
Mm.
fact that we did it in this one sitting is pretty cool.
And
Um,
does it work?
I mean, yeah, it has these text fields and gives,
Wow,
Can you
that's
add the
nice.
plant? Let's see how that works.
okay, let's say it's Monstera deliciosa. Let's just call him Manny. I don't know. New York City, great. I don't know what to write. Like sunlight.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, so you have the image. Oh, that's nice. It has a nice card.
I think it
Actually,
understood it differently. It's using your inspiration as the card in there.
yeah, but the card has like these nice metrics,
Mhm.
and that's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's like it's working actually. It's insane.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And it works.
Yes.
So like this, you can easily user test already.
Yeah.
Now let's try something. Go to the prompt and ask it to make it, more following the inspiration, more playful, whatever, however you want to describe it, right? How would you give this input to, let's say, a developer or like a designer to improve this?
Wait, how would I? So should I?
Yeah, just like pretend that you're talking to a real person on the other end, and you
Okay.
want them to take your input, which was like you wanted this to be more playful or whatever, like the description that you used earlier, based on the inspiration that you gave it. The same
So
way you
first,
would,
no, go ahead.
yeah, the same way you would like describe it to a person to change the design.
Okay, so if I spoke to a developer, I feel like I don't know how they would take the word playful because I feel like a designer would be like, okay, I understand what you're saying, playful oranges,
No, it's the most challenging word, to be honest.
playful,
Playful. Yeah, which
more.
way?
So
Maybe you
how,
should have a
okay,
different reference, like a different picture and try.
Okay.
yep.
Uh,
So that's the reason I asked that is because the same way we would describe it to a person, we need to describe it to this thing, right? So how would this improve it? If we just say, well, make it more interesting, like what does that mean? Make it pop, right? So we need to give like either ideas or like more discrete direction. So I'm
Probably
curious.
like examples, real examples, and
Mhm.
let it analyze.
I guess I would say, okay, maybe micro animations. Can you
It
add
has
that?
animation already.
It has micro animations?
It
No,
has
I
some
guess.
animation already. When you like add a thing or you move between the screens, it's your animation. You
It
see that?
has
It was like jump, like see? And you if you tap on, click on that. See?
okay, yeah. The transitions. I was thinking more so like maybe like motion design, like in terms of like maybe like a spinning icon or some sort of illustration or something like that. But
So you need to be able to describe it first for it to actually take action, right?
I don't. Okay, so the
Elena,
problem is
Lisa, are you guys having luck with yours?
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
watching far far work and stuff. Because, like I have my example completely crashed. I don't have anything. That's yeah.
I mean, Lisa, do you want to show something? I'll just stop sharing my screen. I got to figure out the prompt for like
Okay, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, sure.
1 second.
So this is what mine came up with.
Mhm.
So it made a thing, and this one also it's like hilariously like kind of usable, but not really like it does. Sometimes these number counters change when you hit water now. So it's kind of funny to see like what it thinks like usable and interactive is, like what its default version is. You can add water plant. I haven't tried to actually delete plant. Let's see if it actually goes away. Yeah. And then you also can do the ad. Oh, this is so interesting. It's like pulling my contacts or something. That's so creepy. Um,
Wow, how do you know that?
I think it's because it's logged into my Gmail. Or this is my Chrome account. So it probably just knows. It's probably
Oh,
autofilling.
okay.
But yeah, there's like oh yeah, this little counter seems to work. It seems to know how to count. Yeah, oh, this is so interesting. Yeah, so this you really could do like a usability test.
I'm super impressed to be honest. From nothing, from scratch, like create such a like
Yeah,
I
how much
want,
did we spend on this, right? 30 minutes?
yeah, dang. These little counters were changing like earlier, and now they've stopped.
Oh,
But yeah,
that's the thing that you can chat with the thing about, right? I'm seeing that
yeah,
these are changing earlier. I don't know what happened. Like, why is it And you can like keep going back and forth like that.
yeah.
Okay, so I know that we're severely over, but I think that was like useful exercise to get to that place. Um, okay, thoughts, comments, questions?
Well, I definitely would love to practice more to polish it. It was my like I guess like it was our first attempt, and yeah, I'm sure there is a lot to explore in and to improve and see what it can do. Like I'm excited personally because it was such a short period of time that I could get so much. And definitely, I think it's a great tool to share with like my team, like with product manager, what it can do, like in such a like yeah, literally in like 30 minutes.
Mhm.
Like for me, it's I'm excited. I know it's like absolutely imperfect. There's a there are a lot of things that I don't need and they're confusing, but definitely it's a great foundation.
Mhm. And Elena, since you're in the design system, also one use of this that could be really interesting is that like comparing what developers like develop and the mockup. And then
Yes.
you have this in the project as in like the maybe the area that's like component library that's used in there. So you can tell the thing, Claude, to say like, okay, is there any deviation between this? What's the difference between A and B? Then you don't have
Yeah.
to do it manually, right?
No, definitely. I'm like super excited. I just wish we had like a more time to practice, but maybe we'll have another.
Well, what I'm planning to do is to come up with more opportunities like a design studio part like that. Because like a lot of people who work in companies actually don't get the chance to practice this at work. And to make time is really hard. Right.
Yeah,
So
that,
I'm planning to do that. Sounds like, well, seems like you guys were nodding. It does-
this is great because like if
I'm
I did
not allowed to use these at work.
yeah.
Yeah, but like if you don't, that's the thing that it's interesting. Somebody told me that because they were not allowed, and when they got laid off, they're like, "Shit, this is actually an opportunity for me to catch up because I wasn't able to. I feel like I'm getting left behind because of my day job," which is like a really interesting thing to say. And then I've been hearing that more and more. Anyways, so what else that, Vera, Lisa, what do you think?
Yeah, this was really eye-opening. I always knew that, I mean, I knew that there were opportunities to kind of like create apps like, on the fly, but I never actually knew how to do that. So
Yeah.
this was definitely helpful. Makes you wonder, like, I guess, especially like being exposed to people in the startup world and stuff. I think like bringing a product to market is probably, you can do it in like light speed. This is really, really quick.
Well,
So that's very interesting.
yeah, the key takeaway for me as the UX person is that because it's so easy to get into prototyping, there is no reason to not do usability testing, right? Because it's not going to affect the timeline. It's so cheap, it's so fast. So why not do it? So when there's a disagreement, we just say, let's just test it. I'll just quickly prototype it and test it. It's gonna take me an hour, right? You can like literally say that. It can take me an hour and we'll test it tomorrow. There was like no way we could have said that before this. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
Lisa, what are your thoughts, comments, questions?
This was super fun. This was super informative. Like prompt engineering was like a thing I was familiar with, but like prompt engineering, like it like in order to prototype and like rapid prototyping and prompt engineering for usability testing was like a new concept to me. And that's like game changing, especially because especially like at my job, we have to do like more generating stuff with fewer people. So like just like how to use this stuff, as you said, to augment our team and augment like the practices we're trying to build is like really helpful and really great. And yeah, seeing also just yeah, like witnessing lovable.dev like do anything was like really cool today. I've never experimented with that one. So that was a new one. And really cool. So yeah, thank you so much, Danny.
Sure
Yeah.
thing. And Lena, I hope you'll continue with that until you get something with the lovable one. And one thing that I want you guys, each of you to do is on LinkedIn to write something you learn from this. Here's why. I want you to start owning the fact that you're using this and positioning yourself as somebody who knows how to use this, right? So that way you start sending signal to the world that you're leveling up.
Mhm.
Makes
Is that
sense.
cool?
Do you think that the stuff that we built so far is do we need to polish it before sharing it? Because like I'm obviously self-conscious.
Well, you don't have to share the thing if you don't feel comfortable. But you can just share something you learn, something interesting you learn from this workshop about AI, using AI in UX, right? For example, just like, oh, I could like create a prototype in an hour now and share it, right?
Just
Something like that. How like low key
whatever
thing.
you feel comfortable with. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
and you
low
can
key, right?
practice more and share like at the final more finesse
Hmm.
result.
Just more like lesson learned kind of thing from this because seems like you guys learned something. I hope you did.
Oh yeah.
No, it
Like,
was
Lena, this feels like General Assembly, right?
yes.
Yeah. So the biggest thing here is that even though you may feel like, oh, but I didn't get something final, something like that feel like I'm ready to share, something I want you to realize is that comparing now versus when you started this workshop,
Mhm.
how much more are you like more aware at least and capable of doing this? And most of people out there are like your version of before your this workshop. They're not even
Yeah,
aware of what they could do. Your productivity is like multiplied by at least 3 or 5 times now.
definitely.
Anyways, on that note, I'm gonna let you guys go. It's getting late.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dan.
you so much, yeah, for
This was really awesome, Danny. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
being
Bye, guys.
looking forward to stay in touch. Thank you
Good night,
guys.
everybody.